Peggy and Mike again.
Hello.
We have not moved from this spot because we're starting up with the second episode. One of the things we didn't talk about with the pilot, the official pilot. By the way, this episode is...
This is Agent Carter, by the way. You know, for those of you that just...
Do you want me to just do it again?
Yeah, do it again. Just introduce every single one with what it is.
Okay. Hey everyone, it's Katie and Mike.
Hello.
This is, of course, the second episode of Agent Carter. It is Bridge and Tunnel, which is not even, because, like, I had no idea it was called that until I looked it up online. Because well, because the first one was just pilot. I'm not really sure.
They don't give the episode titles.
Yeah. I guess Bridge and Tunnel, I don't even know why it would be called that.
I don't know. Bridge and Tunnel Crowd, that's the only thing I can think of.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Oh, yeah, and it was the milk thing.
Yeah.
So that must be it. It's a weird, I don't understand why they called it that. Anyway, but one of the things we didn't talk about in the pilot...
They would probably think about it more if they actually displayed the title in the episodes.
Yeah, which I don't think they do.
They don't.
Anyway, but someone who showed up in the pilot relatively briefly, but showed up more in the second episode is James Urbaniak, which most people will know as Dr. Venture from the Venture Brothers. And the funny thing about that is, he is once again in this series playing a morally corrupt scientist who is using science for his own selfish purposes and to make money on the black market. And
but hey, science.
Yeah, science. But it's like, man, James Urbaniak, you sometimes get typecasted. I don't think you mind, because you get to play interesting characters and you're basically, you know, you keep getting to play Rusty Venture, but like, man, you play a lot of scientists who are like morally corrupt. I joked on Twitter that, like, all he needs is a walking eye and daddy issues, and this character is just Rusty Venture.
I'm sure he portrayed him that way.
Yeah.
If you really analyze.
Yeah, on the inside. He was like, while he was standing in line to get tested, he was like, man, I hope my dad wouldn't be ashamed of me, but screw that, I got a walking eye! So... that was fun, and he got to get hit in like in the knee by Agent Carter in her suitcase. That was kind of a cool moment. So this episode, it very much feels like the second part of the pilot. It doesn't feel like a new episode,
which isn't a bad thing.
No, I definitely see why they did this 2 hours, because it really does. These two episodes together are stronger than them apart. So one of the things I mentioned in the last review was the fact that Peggy learning to be okay with connecting
with the world
and connecting with people and building relationships again, and not being afraid that she's putting them in danger or making them targets or cursing them to crash into the icy tundra. Or to get shot in the head in your bed.
Let's just say death.
Death. Yes, death. And I will say I like Jarvis as like the support system for her. It doesn't feel... I felt like her sadness wasn't overdone, because sometimes when women are written as mourning, they aren't done very well, and they do that thing where like it's all like they give them one emotional trait and that's all they think about. So it's either being worried that they're not going to find a man, or being afraid of something and then never getting over it. And this one, it still feels like she's hesitant, but that she also realizes that like this would be the advice she'd be giving Steve. I got that sense. Like when in the movie, when Steve is trying to get drunk and is failing after Bucky falls, she gives him kind of that he would want you to keep going. He wouldn't want you to stop. You have to keep going. In his, if his death means anything, you need to keep going. So I feel like a lot of her choices in this, her personal choices in this episode were kind of in that same vein of her realizing what was good for her, which fits her character. And again, it didn't feel like it was too forced. She still tried to pull away from it, and there's still going to be consequences to her moving in with, I just had the name of the girl up.
But it's the lady who works at the
Angie.
diner.
Yeah, Angie. Because I think she's in all 7 episodes, or, sorry, she's in 7 of the 8 according to IMDb, but then there are other people who are, like, Jarvis is supposedly only in 3, and I think he's a mini-series regular. So, I don't think IMDb is necessarily 100% accurate at this point as far as who's in what episode. I'm trying to think what else. It takes care of more or less of this particular
gadget that has gone amok.
Yeah.
Basically, this formula for an explosive that after it explodes, it implodes kind of like a black hole, almost like.
Yeah, and it sucks everything in, and then kind of explodes again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ploding. But it's incredible. They said, like, it will take...
Originally, what went missing was a formula, but then these scientists were making it.
And there's some kind of evil organization that is, we don't think is Hydra, it's Leviathan, even though that's also a, like... Leviathan is, like, another mythical creature thing, so it might be connected to Hydra. I almost hope it is, and I hope it's something of its own thing, just so that Peggy doesn't suspect Hydra at every turn.
But we're gonna get what's his name eventually, the Doctor.
Yeah, at some point.
So maybe it is him at the top.
Maybe.
And this is him coming close to getting caught.
I'm trying to think what else happened. So
Armin Zola, that's his name.
Oh yeah, Armin Zola actually showed up. I think he showed up in the pilot.
Was he in the pilot? I didn't think so.
Yeah, it was in the pilot. It was in the earlier part.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else happened in this episode. There was a the radio thing, which was hilarious, where it's the...
Yeah, and that also plays into my favorite fight so far.
That fight, that's what I was going to say, because I was like, the fight scenes were good. Oh wait, that really good fight scene. Oh wait, the radio thing. So... I believe there was a Captain in our world, in this world, there was a Captain America radio show, and so in this they did a meta thing where they actually have them after Steve goes missing, they have a Captain America radio show where he fights the Nazis. And the best part about it is if you're a fan of Thrilling Adventure Hour. They do a similar story called Jefferson Reed, Ace American. It is literally just Captain America. But his love interest in this is like this spunky American who is always talking about the damn dirty Krauts. I'm trying to do my best impersonation, but it's like, Jefferson! Oh goodness, you've saved me! And I know that there was a Captain America radio show. I'm like 99% sure. But I feel like they were actually giving a nod to the Thrilling Adventure Hour because they actually have the love interest called, like...
Everything is dirty Krauts.
I don't think it was entirely, but there was at least once or twice where it was like, you greasy Krauts! And it has to be. It has to be a nod to Jefferson Reed. I want to believe it. But that radio show is so great because you have Nurse Betty Carver, who is always getting kidnapped by Hitler. And Peggy has to hear it on the radio, just like constantly throughout this episode, where she's just like, I just don't want, like, she gets so pissed off because it's all, like one of the bits has the fake her going like, Nurse Betty Carver, fixing up the pants for the troops. Oh, sewing is so hard, but it's so much better with my 1041 sewing machine. Oh no!
It makes sewing a breeze.
It makes sewing a breeze. Oh no, the Nazis are here again! They're kidnapping me! Oh, who will save me? Will Captain America save me in time? And Peggy's having to, like, sit in the car while Jarvis drives her. And is just getting more and more pissed off about this. Alright, so they go to this one little, I think it's a farmhouse, right?
Outskirts of
Outskirts of town.
House.
But this guy is also listening to the radio, and she ends up fighting him, and while she's fighting him, there's a fight scene going on the radio, and it's Captain America beating up the Nazis, whereas she's actually kicking a whole lot of butt, and then it ends with it ends with like the guy falling flat and and with Peggy, and then the radio going, "Oh, thank you, Captain America." She's like, every time. It's so good. It was a really well done fight scene, and the audio synced up so well, and they showed the sound effects being made in the radio station. So it was just a really well shot scene, and then there was the only thing that I didn't like as much about it was that I felt like the chase scene that happened after went on a little too long. It was still enjoyable, but it was just like, I was like, okay, Peggy can't stand on that truck going that fast for this long. But no, for the most part, it was really good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really stood out to me about this episode.
One of the things I wanted to point out was Roxxon, which is the oil company, energy company that has been sort of in the background of all the movies for a long time now.
Yeah, it started with Iron Man, Mike found out, because we looked it up.
We looked it up. It was where the Iron Man and Ironmonger fight took place. It was like at a Roxxon production facility. And then there were a few other references in Iron Man 2, and then in Iron Man 3, the oil executive that gets killed because the president calls and the Mandarin ignores the call. That guy was a Roxxon oil executive. The oil spill that they referenced was a Roxxon oil spill, and the oil tanker that they strapped the president to was actually a Roxxon oil tanker.
Yeah. So it's kind of nice. I like how they... I honestly don't think that up until like maybe the last year or so they actually thought they were going to use them.
Yeah, it feels like more like it was a background thing,
I think they plan all these things. They plan all these things like, just in case.
When you have decades of comics to build from, you have an energy company that you can use, that you can throw into your backgrounds and stuff like that. Cause
you might as well.
Because you can't use Shell or Amoco or BP or...
Yeah.
So you're gonna...
If you're gonna do 1, 2, 3 Faith Street, you might as well do like 1, 2, 3 Jarvis Lane.
Yeah, exactly.
If Jarvis Lane is actually in the comics, not just a wink. The other thing I was gonna say too, as far as the people that are the main cast of the show, Chad Michael Murray's in this. Mike, do you happen to remember what was the last thing we saw Chad Michael Murray in that wasn't on Netflix?
No.
He played a fuckface or whatever from in
Kill Bill?
No.
His name is Buck and he likes to...
No, in Left Behind. I'm a journalist! Let me take pictures of your face!
Yes.
And I'm just like, the whole time I was thinking about this day, I was just like, you leveled up, man. You're on a really good show. Man, compared to like the thing you were doing a few months ago, like, good job.
Also, another thing from references in earlier movies, Antoine Vanko's father shows up. I forget the first name. Is it?
No, I thought that's... Yeah, we already talked about that, I thought.
No, we didn't.
Oh, we didn't?
We talked about it between us, but we didn't talk about it on the camera. Vanko's father shows up. Vanko was Whiplash in Iron Man 2.
And his dad shows up as like, hi, I'm one of Tony Stark. Doesn't say it like that. Hello, I'm one of Tony Stark's scientists.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to know now what happens to that doctor now.
Yeah.
Who helps Peggy.
Yeah.
In that brief 3-second scene.
So,
which really wasn't really needed besides for like, just to give a little bit of wink nod.
Yeah. The other thing is...
But hopefully he comes back for a little bit more. I don't know, though.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to say, or about this one? It was good. It built on the other one. I'm excited. I'm interested to see where it goes and what the bad guys are up to, and there are hints that that Stark might not be as innocent as he seems. So that should be... I'm interested to see how much of that is a red herring and how much of that is like, no, he actually did do something really terrible.
So far, everything about this series, like, any complaints I have are serious, nittiest of nitpicks.
There are a few things,
But what I would say is, like, the most jarring thing is that the way it is shot, because going from Peggy Carter shot very cinematically in the Captain America movies to now being very television-like and very sort of...
Well, and they had clips from Captain America to kind of set you up if you haven't seen it. So it would go back and forth. I think that's not gonna... I think that was only really for that first episode, though.
But I mean, like it's a very different way. It's shot very differently, and
that's true.
It's just it's a little bit jarring that it's a little bit different, and also the production quality is not really quite as high as they got in the movies. So everything's a little bit off, but it's fine if you like try to put the movies out of your head for a little bit.
There are only a couple things that really bothered me, and they were nitpick things too. The roommate dying was just like, man, she didn't even make it through the pilot. She didn't make it to the very end of the pilot. She made it in the middle. But the other thing is that there was a line. I think a few scenes passed the Bechdel test in this, at least 2 that I counted, but the second one that definitely counted was, so Angie, it was in this episode, and Angie takes Peggy to go interview to get her apartment, and she's showing around, she's saying like, oh, that's Susan, and she's a Rocket, and that's, Deborah, and she's doing work with this company. And then there's another girl that passes out, and she goes, that's Maggie, she's a slut. I will say that the delivery of the line was kind of funny in the moment, but it's like, did you have to use that word in this show that's all about, like, an awesome woman who doesn't put down other women and gets stuff done and has female friends? Like,
well, that's why she's the role model.
Yeah, it's still, like, it felt like...
It's a little bit disheartening that they put it in there.
I thought it could have been avoided. They could have done something else. And the fact that it was like, wow, that scene actually passed the Bechdel test. And it included one of the female characters calling another one a slut. I just kind of bothered me. It wasn't a deal breaker for the show. It was just one of those things where it's like, well, that's a slight percentage knockoff. That was like a 2% knock.
Yeah, so it scores a 98.
It scores a 98. So yeah, I'm excited. I have a feeling that
also, Peggy Carter's fight style is very awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about that she's basically like a brawler.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
She's just punching and kicking as hard as she can, knocking people to the ground.
Apparently, Hallie Atwell, like, she was, I don't know if she called herself a tomboy, but, like, she roughhoused a lot as a kid, so, like, this is really right up her alley. And it fits totally with her movie persona, because the first thing you see her do, more or less, is when the guy tries to give her shit, is she just socks him right, and it's a big punch. She socks him right in the jaw. And then what's his face, his character was like, yeah, good, punch him in the face. We need to make our men's faces bloody. Good job, Agent Carter.
Peggy Carter hits things like
with like her whole body.
Yeah.
It's pretty. I mean, it's a real.
If there's any one Avenger I'd compare it to, I'd say it's very similar to Thor and how he just takes a mallet and smashes things as hard as he fucking can.
Yeah. So, but no, it's really fun. The fight scenes were really good. I actually, as far as her disguises, I really liked her milk sanitation person, because she just gets away with so much stuff just by being authoritarian and wearing like a lab coat. It was a really great moment. I still like Jarvis. Jarvis is still enjoyable. We've seen this episode basically both episodes twice now. We'll be doing just like right after.
Yeah, from now on we'll do them right after. With 2 episodes, it just took too late.
Yeah, we went to bed last night. But yeah, so without any further ado, it's another good episode. Looking forward to the next one. Looking forward to whatever. I think Dum Dum is supposed to be in this next one, so I'm excited about that.
Hopefully, let's get excited.
Yay! See you next week.